Hey, if you are actually using Google Ads for yourself or thinking about using them, you need to consider what types of campaigns you want to use for your business. So I'm going to explain all the different options you have, and I do suggest using a combination of these types of ads. Now, it depends on how big your budget is, on how many different types of campaigns you should use, or based on your industry, which one would be best. So I'm going to give you a few examples, but first I want to walk you through each of the different options so that you can have the best selection for your business based on your goals and your budget. I'm Kelsey from Remarketing, and if you want to know more about using Google tools for your business without being frustrated or having a headache or wanting to throw your computer against the wall, you should hit subscribe or like the video below once you've watched the whole thing and gotten all the value you can. So, all the different types of ads that you can use within Google Ads. Now, this is all under the umbrella of creating an account within Google Ads. If you have questions on how to create an account, there's another video for that. So let's dive into the different types and where you can find them on Google. Let me give you a little background on me so that you might trust what I'm saying. I have been Google Ads certified for 10 years now, and I actually have been managing ad campaigns that same length of time. Mostly I help home service businesses in the small to medium range because those businesses have the most opportunity to get found and grow during the process of using Google Ads. So if you have questions about Google tools or anything in the Google area, I'm your gal. So you can hit subscribe or comment any of your questions and I'll get back to you. So first, I want to tell you that if you are using Google Ads and you don't have time to commit to looking at this campaign or this account on at least bi-weekly basis, then you should not even use Google Ads. There is a lot of attention that needs to go in for you to allow growth, success, and avoiding wasting money, which is usually the biggest concern that most business owners have when they're starting Google Ads. But it's also a concern that if you don't set it up properly, you could waste money from the get. So don't waste any time or money and just consider using a manager to help you create it or manage it or any of those things. So first, choosing the right campaigns is based on your business, your audience, your goals, and your budget. Making sure that all of those align with what each campaign can do for your business is the first concern. Making sure that you understand what your business is going to be promoting. So if there are high profit keywords or services that you have, focus on using those if you have a smaller budget. Also, what are the other campaigns to allow you some brand recognition, finding people that may be within your audience, but they don't know they need you yet, or even that you exist. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get in front of your audience, but you need to know your audience. So if you don't know your audience, that's the first thing you need to think about. Who's your ideal customer? Who's your favorite customer that you've had in the last year? What do they think? How do they behave? Where did they find you? Go ahead, go back and ask them. They might not remember if it's been a year, but if you have any new customers that are coming in this week, ask them. If you don't know where you're finding your audience, then you may not know where to put these ads. So that's another concern to consider before you even use Google Ads. Now you may be thinking, how much should I be thinking about spending on Google Ads if I am considering it? Well, if you're going to manage it yourself, you can have a budget of, I would say, a minimum of $600 a month. Now, I have a whole other video that talks about considering what a good Google Ads budget is based on your industry and your specific keywords. But to break it down very simply before we dive into these ad campaign types, that is, in Google Ads, you have a daily budget set, and then you multiply that by the number of days, which is about 30 each month. So making sure that you're deciding how much is enough for your business, let's break it down to $600 divided by 30 is 20. So that gives you $20 a day. Now, Google Ads works like a cost per click bidding strategy, meaning that you are going to pay for every single click you get. So is $20 enough? So you really do need to find out what an average cost per click is for your industry. If you want to know, feel free to comment what your industry is and I'll get back to you with what your average cost per click would be so that you can figure out a best budget for your business. So what types of ads should we be using? First, what we already know of Google is the search ads. These are what we're most familiar with and we look at all the time. And Google does a great job of making these blend in with the page so you don't really know that they're ads. So if you go to Google, we're going to do a search like plumber near me, and we're going to see the sponsored results. These are in text format, so you can only include headers, descriptions that are limited by characters, and then you can add extensions, also known as assets. I have a whole other video explaining all of the options there, but you want to fill in as many assets or extensions as possible because this is going to make your ad have more real estate on Google search. So you can see for this example, we have our headers and they're going to show 2 to 3 at a time, and then 1 to 2 descriptions that are lined up in a paragraph format to show off what the user may be looking for in your website or your business services. And then they have some call out extensions, which they're just using some of their keywords, their location, and that they're open 24 hours. And then they have a call us button. That's a call extension and every single business should have it on all of their ads. So setting this up once you have your ad campaign created is huge because people can just click on it and call you. That's exactly what we want, right? So these ads also have some options of showing photos. You want these to be crisp, high quality photos. Showcasing yourself on Google search really is the best way to win someone over to go to your website and contact you. Now, one thing I want to say, every business should use search ads. So the search network is Google search. This is when someone goes to Google, types in what they're looking for, a question, a concern, maybe a problem they're having, a service they're looking for. Even if they know exactly what they need, they're doing the searching. They're active. They're making decisions on what path is going to be best for them. Many people ask me, well, what about Facebook ads? Facebook ads are targeting your audience based on their behavior of other things. So when they see your ad, they may not be ready for you. So then they'll just maybe like the post and keep on scrolling and completely forget within 10 seconds. With Google, they did the search, they're doing the clicking, they want a solution. They're much more high intent because they're actually on the hunt. So make sure that you have clear keywords knowing exactly what your audience searches for so that you can be found exactly when they're searching. The next type of ad is Performance Max. Now, I want to give a little warning. This gives Google the control, which sometimes can be a little scary. But if you want to use Google Ads without really managing your account, then you can consider using this type of ad. Because what you're going to do is set it up with your website and your photos, your Google business profile, really just give Google all of the information it needs, and it will show your ad and try to expand your reach. So that is the concerning part, is that there can be a lot looser targeting within this type of ad campaign if you're not paying attention to it. So yes, giving Google some control allows it to favor its algorithm and give its algorithm what it wants to find new places for your ad to be found. And these ads are seen all over. They're shown in Google Maps as a sponsored, so it shows up saying sponsored, but you can see that they're in the maps, which is fantastic. Getting found in maps as a local service business is ideal. So this is an ad campaign that I highly recommend, but using restraint. One, either a small budget or a lot of information within the targeting parameters. So being very specific about what you give Google and checking back in on it to make sure that Google didn't start going off into another realm of who knows what service because they think it's related. So this can be a little bit of a scary campaign. If you give it a lot of budget, it can go off the rails quickly. So it does require a lot of data, so I suggest starting it when you start as a very small campaign, maybe $1 to $2 per day, and then letting it go. And once you are checking in on your campaign, refine it, keep an eye on it, see what calls are actually coming from that campaign. Are they relevant or are they not? So this is another smaller campaign that is highly recommended because of the Maps feature that you can connect your Google business to and start being found as a sponsored local result. The next ad campaign is outside of Google Ads, but still very recommended for all service-based businesses, is local services ads. Now, you may have heard of this as Google Guaranteed or Google Badge. These are the ads that show up above everything else. Who wouldn't want to be there? And my recommendation is actually to use a variation of all of these ads together, also depending on your budget of which ones to prioritize. So you can see at the very top, we have sponsored plumbers. So it's going to show you your hours, get a quote, book, call, or get their phone number. This is only connected to your Google business. You will not see any traffic coming from local services ads to your website. So it's not limiting because it's not cost per click, it's cost per lead. So this is ideal if you fall within the approved industries, and if you want to know what those industries are, go to my website, go to the local services ads page, and you'll be able to see the whole list. Now, if you do fall in the industry that is approved, you do need to jump through several hoops. One, you need to have a general liability policy and provide Google a copy of that waiver that shows the accurate date and how long until it expires. You also need to go through a background check in any of your customer-facing employees. This is so that Google is actually standing behind you to guarantee your business is trusting and actually going to provide the service that they are giving you leads for. So making sure that this is going through the process as quickly as you can. Don't leave out anything. Google wants all the information, but also to have this running in the background. These ads show up at the top, generate leads, and can be very, very helpful. Now, the secondary part of local services ads is it's connected to your Google business profile. So you need to make sure that that is fully optimized. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I have plenty of videos on that topic, as well as how to create, optimize, and verify your listing so that you can have enough reviews to compete with local services ads. So if you're just getting started in your business, local services ads may be something that you start in year 1 or 2 once your Google business has enough reviews. So look at your competitors, see how many reviews they have. For example, plumbing in Rochester has around 6,000 to 8,000 reviews. So if you're just getting started, you may not be able to compete in the area of that keyword with local services ads. So just hold off for a little bit so that you can generate enough reviews so that you can start competing on that level, which reviews are the prominent way to rank in this industry, in these types of ads. The next type of ad we're going to talk about is the display ad or image ads. Now, we've all seen these, but we may not be aware that these are display ads. And I want to explain the display network first. So there's the search network, which is Google search, and the display network is 3 million plus websites across the web that are partnered with Google using the AdSense program, allowing Google to show ads on their website, and they get a portion of that click cost. So with an example, the Weather Channel, you can go here and you will see a ton of ads. You'll see one at the top that is constantly rotating into different types of ads. And as you scroll, you'll see others popping up on the right or in the middle of the content. As you keep going, you may also find that some of those ads are specific to you. Those may be specific to you because of your internet activity. I'm going to explain that type of ad in a second. But the display network is huge. You can target these types of platforms based on the topics of that page. So what are they talking about? What do they write about? What is the website about? And then you can also target based on what general topic that website falls under. So if you're looking to target a homeowner, you can also look to any of the home related websites so that you can find people that are looking into home renovations or home buying, home selling, whatever, knowing that they're in the market for any home service. So if they are a renter or if they are a homeowner, you have a lot of those parameters under the demographics of your audience that you can target. So these ads can be very helpful, but I want you to know that they will never, never, never result in a lead. These are brand awareness. These are someone is in your audience. You want to make yourself known. If they click, they may not stay for a long time. And the reason is they're on that website for another reason, not for what you are offering. So like I said with the search ads, the high intent, they're doing the searching, they're doing the clicking. The display ads and the display network have very low intent. they're distracted, just like on social media, with something else. They're looking for something other than what you're offering. So putting yourself in front of there is more of a subconscious brand awareness. If they've been to your website, they'll recognize it. If they know you, they'll recognize it. If not, you don't get charged because you only pay per click. So if they don't see it, if they don't click, they continue. Now, the plus side is if they do click, the cost per click is usually around 25 cents to 50 cents per click. So it's very cheap, and you can keep the budget very low for these types of ads. And just like with the search ads, you'll create headers and descriptions and add photos and videos and your extensions or assets to each of these ads. So making sure that you can have a fully optimized ad for anyone that might see you is really important. Now, to talk about the next type of ad is remarketing or retargeting, or I've heard people call these stalker ads. And so these ads are going to go through the display network. So you can show them on all of the different networks that are connected to Google, just like Weather Channel. So these ads are actually using the connection of Google Analytics. So making sure that those two accounts are connected is really important. If you haven't, I have another video on that. And the importance of syncing these is so that the data from your clickers, so any of your ad activity, goes to your website. What are they doing there? What are they engaged with? Where are they stopping in your funnel? And if there's anything that you want to follow up on. So this is really important for anyone that they went to your site, looked at your services page, but didn't call you, didn't fill out a form or book a call. If those things didn't happen and you got them to the point where they might be interested, might have gotten distracted or just left, weren't ready to make the decision, your remarketing ads would follow those people around so that you can be the constant reminder that, hey, did you forget something? Don't forget to contact us. We have a deal going on. It's springtime. Make sure your sump pump is, working properly. You can have any type of strategy of what did they do and follow them with a specific ad based on their behavior. So these are phenomenal because you're already targeting someone that has gone to your website. They're familiar with your business a little bit. And then you're marketing to them to try and generate a click. But if they don't, they just keep seeing your ad everywhere, which you will start to notice that after a while. I'm sure you'll notice that after watching this video. But these are within the display network. So the cost per click is very, very low. So there is a huge potential to reach someone that already knows you and already somewhat interested for a very low cost. So if you have Google Analytics set up, you'll want to make sure that your audience parameters are created and you could start gathering data of all the people falling into those audience buckets and then start using the remarketing ads. Huge, huge. If you have questions about this, feel free to reach out to me and I will definitely help you. The last type of ad campaign we're going to talk about today is YouTube ads. Now, I want to be clear, if you're going to use YouTube ads, you need to have a great video. If it is boring, if it is, just stock photos and a voiceover and, you can't really hear it or it's blurry, don't use it. YouTube ads needs to be very intentional, making sure that your ads are funny, unique, to the point, giving value, educating, any of those things that you have found to really work, convincing your existing customers, record it. How can you put that into the settings so that when someone's watching this ad, they know, I need this person, I need this business, I need to call for this service. And so what you'll find is there's a few different ways that the YouTube ads will work. One, you have a video that will show in front of a video playing. So let's see an example. So you have a few different types of ads. Obviously, the first one is to skip the ad and jump right to the video. So if someone skips your YouTube ad, you don't get charged. So the ideal is to pay per view under this type of ad campaign, and you're going to be making sure that they watch your whole video. And the variations of these types of ads are actually great. You can do 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds, a couple minutes if you'd like. Now, if they skip it, there is no pay-per-view. You also have options to show ads on the right side of the video. So making sure that there's anything over here that you want to showcase to specific videos or channels or topics or searches, any of those ways you can target within YouTube. I also want to mention, if you didn't know, YouTube is the second largest search engine behind Google. and it's owned by Google. So the algorithm is the same as how Google search is working. So we have a lot of different audience parameters that we can target within YouTube ads. But again, making sure that your ad is great before you even consider this is really important, because you may not get conversions from this if the video isn't compelling. If the video is, let's skip it right away, then you may not get your message across to convince the user. So keep that in mind, that if you have something that is worked as a commercial or been successful on social media and gone viral, any of those things, that's when you can start considering YouTube ads. Now you can use YouTube videos in your display ads. So if you are making videos, those are still going to be useful for ads. But if you want to have the video that shows up before a video to really get someone to watch it, then you need to have something amazing and avoid them skipping it. So catching their attention within the first 5 seconds is crucial. So I want to share a couple common mistakes that people have made. The first is using display network before they use search network. So as I said, the high intent users on search are going to be leading you to more leads than display ever could. So if you're going to be starting an ad campaign, start with search and then consider display. Definitely keeping the budget low for display ads and focusing as much of your budget towards the search ads as possible. Now, of course, you want to make sure that your keywords are targeting the right audience and your ads are compelling, as well as making sure your landing page is very helpful and giving the user what they need to finally decide to call or contact your business. All of those are discussed in another video about quality score. The next common mistake is ignoring local services ads. So if you've been in business and you're starting to consider doing advertising and you have a bunch of reviews, local services ads is something I highly, highly recommend. It can be very valuable for those that just want to be visible at the top and generate consistent leads through phone calls or messages. If you have a lot of reviews, these are going to be huge to showcase, because the more you have, the higher you can rank. And you can be very specific in what services you offer to these ads. And these, of course, are the cost per lead. So that means you're only paying for the leads that you get. This is so valuable. I couldn't believe when Google actually launched this. So if you are within the approved industries, you're willing to go through the background check and provide your general liability waiver, go for it. Start doing it right now. And the last common mistake is that you're letting Google put you into a Performance Max campaign, so the smart campaign that we give Google all the control right away. I don't think that this is a good idea. If you have a small budget, put it into search ads. Performance Max will not result in high quality leads. You may get an existing customer from it. You may get someone that's calling you for something totally different. So giving Google control is not really the best idea. And you will find if you're managing this yourself, Google will suggest a lot of things that are just kind of off the wall. So I have a whole other video on how you can handle the recommendations tab, and this is something you should be doing on a bi-weekly basis at a minimum. If you're managing your own Google Ads campaign and you're just so sick of it, call me and we can have a great chat about what you're doing, what I can do for you, and how you can get better results from Google Ads. Start seeing a positive ROI instead of frustrations and headaches. Thanks for watching, and if you thought this was helpful, feel free to subscribe to my channel or like the video. And if you have any questions, comment them below and I'll be sure to get back to you. See you in the next one.